to make large-scale, bold brush movement drawings using watered-down acrylic that's kind of like sumi ink. And our subject matter is going to be the Joshua tree. We're going to treat the Joshua tree like it's a person and make a portrait of it and think about if it could move, how would it move? But most importantly, we're going to think about how we move when we're making it. Here's what we'll need. A really big piece of paper. I actually like this builder's paper from Home Depot. It's cheap and comes in a big roll. Any paintbrush will do. I like one large and one small round brush. Black acrylic paint, a jar of water, a plate for your paint, a reference photo, a towel, and a pencil. So we are going to put our piece of paper on the ground, and we're going to put a little bit of paint, just a little bit, in the middle of the plate, and add some water. Then you want to grab your reference image and make sure you have it on the ground near you. And what's really important is to make sure you have enough space around you to move. So just grab a little bit of paint and a little bit of water and test it out. And then you can work up to darker by adding a little more pigment. And in this case, you can use the flat part of the brush. You could also use the side of the brush. Same thing here. Flat or the tip. And this changes based on how much pressure you put down on the brush. So the third thing that's really important is how we move our brush and how we move our body. So when we do little paintings, we tend to use our wrist and our fingers. But when we're doing these brush movement drawings, we're going to use our whole arm and our shoulder. And we're also going to use our body when we stand up over the paper. So there's two things I'd like us to do to get ourselves ready. And the first is to check out our reference photo, to look at the Joshua tree and look at the clusters of spiky leaves and the big trunk and the arms, the branches that look like appendages. And the second is I'd like us to get loose. So I want to make sure that we get up and that we grab our brush, and this is our brush without paint, and we're going to mimic the motion of what it might be like to draw the Joshua tree. And we're going to use big movements. So if I was going to do a trunk and the appendages, and we're going to move all around. And before we get started on our painting, we're actually really going to get loose. And I want us to do some stretching. I want us to pretend like we're a Joshua tree and move and stretch. And then I want us to run a lap around our property. So to begin, we need to decide where we're going to start. And what I want to make sure we do is utilize the entire space of the paper. I think I want to start with the trunk of the tree. That seems like a good foundation. So I'm going to grab my brush, and remember to start light and work dark. And I'm going to start up. And I don't mind if I step on my paper. And the next thing I'm going to do is think about my arms. And Joshua trees have crazy arms. And so in this one, I went from big to small. And here I'm going to go from small to big. And dripping and splattering is encouraged. So I don't want you to overthink this. We're not creating an exact representation of a Joshua tree. We're getting the feel and the movement of it. So now I'm going to go to the clusters of spiky leaves, and feel free to get fun with it. And they tend to go big to small. I'm using the full expanse of the space, but I'm not completely filling up every inch of it. We have what is called white space or negative space, and then the imagery. You can mix some swirls. You want to get extra water and splat. So in addition to the Joshua tree, you might want to think about what friends the Joshua tree has, like little rocks or boulders, prickly pear cactus and yuccas. I like to think about where the horizon line might be. The horizon is where the land meets the sky. So I'm gonna do a yucca. Now, something to keep in mind, if you create something and make it darker, it will appear closer. And if you want to create pieces in the background, you can do them lighter. So after it's had a chance to dry just a little bit, you can go back in and add some more details. And I'm gonna do kind of some outlines. And I'm making these darker so that they pop out a little bit. And I think I'm going to add some more detail to these prickly pear. I had an absolute blast doing this painting. It's not my usual way of working. I'm usually very planned and articulated. I like drawing things out and making sure everything's perfect. So this is a great way to not overthink something, to be able to use your body and movement, be expressive and bold, take risks, and work on a much bigger scale. And really to focus on how you use a minimal amount of materials and tools in all kinds of ways. So the pressure points, the amount of water, the amount of paint. So I really encourage you, next time you're out in the environment, go check out a Joshua tree and ask yourself how you might paint a portrait of it and how it might move. I am super excited to see your forest of Joshua trees.